Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick here, dropping in on you. I hope everybody is in a good place. I hope that if you haven't checked out my video on my stream from earlier today, where I talked specifically about how people are responding to the news of the death of Kevin Samuels, I really do encourage you to watch that because there's a special message in that for all of us. I think that we really need to examine ourselves um, and move accordingly. Uh, Before I get started here, I want to remind everybody that we are doing intense work in the community. We are working in every area you can imagine. The Black Man Lead Rite of Passage Initiative, which is more than just a rite of passage now, it is a complete suite of wraparound services directed at helping uh, young Black males become strong Black men so that they can fill the roles that are in which they are so desperately needed in the community. We are dealing with young Black girls who are suffering from trauma, being trafficked, so many other different things. We're doing that as well. But show your love, show your support. Go to the description box, click the link. And I think after we talk here briefly, that you'll see the need for the work that's being done. We are not properly developing and socializing our children, definitely not our Black males, into a space in which they can be strong Black men. And so, one of the questions that has erupted again, it's not the first time I've heard it, but it has erupted again in the news of the death of Kevin Samuels is why was he so popular when he was so polarizing? I'm going to attempt to address that, but I want to tell you if you cannot think critically, if you cannot get outside of your imagination, if you're coming with a stacked level of vitriol and hatred, you're probably not going to get anything out of this. As I said in the initial video, anybody who has followed me knows that Kevin definitely wasn't a favorite person. I didn't agree with the way he moved. There were definitely some points he made that I think were valid, but I think that when you purposely do things in a way that can be harmful or hurtful, I think you lose the effectiveness of the message. Now, obviously, it wasn't lost on a large sector of the Black male community because there are some issues going on there um, that I may get into here if I have time, and I may not. This is not a segment of dragging Kevin Samuels. You know, I think that there's a level of respect one must have for themselves, regardless how they feel about someone else. And so, you know, I can go toe to toe with somebody when they're alive and we can share our differences and we can talk about it. We can even get heated in times. But when a person is going on, let that go. He did what he did. He was who he was. And what are we going to do with what was left? Because the question comes, why was he so popular? Well, he was popular because number one, polarizing uh, individuals who tend to be polarizing seem to attract people because we tend to be drawn towards conflict. We don't understand why, but we are often drawn towards conflict. And the probably the most powerful influence and the reason he was so popular is because there's a large sector of the Black male population that is disenfranchised with Black females. This isn't a justification of that disenfranchisement. This is a statement of reality. There are a bunch of Black men who blame Black women for quite a bit. As a Black man that was reared by who I believe to be a very strong Black man, I am not one to place blame for realities on anyone in situation in which I can control what I do. So if I'm in a situation in which I'm not being treated right, I have a move to make, and so I tend to make those moves. So I don't look for people to blame. I look for things to do. I am a person who pursues solutions. Again, this isn't to marginalize how Black men feel, because the truth of the matter is, I think Dr. T. Hassan Johnson and Dr. Tommy J. Curry have done an immense amount of work in revealing just how uh, marginalized Black men are in this country. And I think everybody should read Dr. Curry's book, The Man Not. But when we look at who Kevin Samuels was, he was a person who saw a space, and he took that space and he filled that space and he spoke in that space and he gave a voice to a bunch of people who didn't have a voice. How he used that voice was questionable at best. Um, I am a firm believer that you can lose the truth and the power of fact and truth in the delivery. There are going to be a lot of people who followed him who's going to say, "Hey, you sometimes you have to take the bitter pill." Okay, I'm not here to argue that. That's not why I'm here. Why I'm here is to say there is a void in expression. There's a void. There are so many Black men who were hurt and broken as Black boys. There are so many Black men who have become disenfranchised and disappointed in their particular situations. And so we must ask ourselves, how did this happen? I'm going to start with one of the things that I found problematic in what was being done in that particular space created by Kevin Samuels. And that is the concept of a high value man. And I have no problem with designating someone to be a high value. But if I'm going to talk about a high value man, then I must also talk about a high value woman. And I think that the idea of a high value man was so superficial in these discussions that it left the gr- uh, the breadth of what was necessary to truly give the picture. It was out. The superficial thing was, how much money did the person make? The status of the person made them a high value man. And see what happened. This is what happens when you commodify an individual, when you make their worth and their value be predicated upon their bank account or how much they earn. I think it's great to see Black men aspire to be higher earners. But what I find is, in this interesting conversation, nobody looked for the facts. See, we started to talk about high value men and we started to talk about six figures in particular. And I found that interesting, being a six-figure earner. I found that particular because I deal with finance. I teach my clients. I know the numbers. Here's the thing. Less than 20% of the entire population, regardless of race, regardless of gender, makes six figures. Now let's talk about Black men specifically. The earning median for Black men is 44,000. So now we're starting to talk about a very, very, very elite and specific notion. And we are sitting up and saying that the only people that can be considered high value are these people. Well, the problem is when you commodify an individual and everything is predicated upon a material status, you also give them a false sense of self. So now, because of them feeling that they're that, they tend to move and think and develop a mindset of conceit and contempt for those who are not in that category. And we lose respect, we lose companionship, we lose a bunch of other things that's so important. See, when I gave you guys the 5 P's of manhood, before I ever spoke of provider, I spoke of protector. See, a part of being a high value man is that you must understand that your most primitive role is that of a protector. Your most refined role is that of a provider, but your most instinct and primitive role is that of protector. You should not be causing harm to that which you are designed to protect. But we lose ourselves in that. That's why when in the Black Men Lead program, the first principle is that a Black man never causes harm to a Black woman. That's emotionally, psychologically, and physically. We can't sit up and ignore the fact that the second leading cause of death for Black females between the ages of 15 and 44 is intimate partner homicide. There's a problem. And we are not developing young Black males with a mindset of understanding their value outside of getting the bag. That's why you find so many out there trying to get it in whatever way they can. They're out there trying to get the bag because the bag is where they get their value. The bag is where they get their sense of worth and self. And so they're chasing the bag, but they're not developing. There's an arrested development because the only thing that matters now is the bag, because the bag is where I get respect. The bag is what make women want to come towards me. The bag is the way I control my environment around me, because when I got the bag, people bow down. Well, see, when you are in a true state of understanding who you are, your goal should never be to get anybody to bow down. Your goal should be to get people to sink into you. Your goal should be to be a covering. The goal should be to find a woman who is of equal value. And that has to be defined by an understanding of what makes an awesome woman. See, what drives one man will intimidate another. So you got to find out where you are, who you are, what moves. See, I'm not intimidated by intelligent women who earn well, because I made sure I created a space for myself in that. I am not intimidated by women who can speak their piece. Now, I don't want a lack of peace or tranquility in my environment. I don't want someone that's all they want to do is bicker and argue, but that comes from a place too. And see, we are dealing with a lot of things that we haven't healed from. That's why, this whole thing about broken boys, it was Frederick Douglass that said it's so much easier to create and build strong children than it is to heal broken men. And we are seeing it. We are seeing it. See, the first principle in the list of principles of Black manhood that we teach in Black Men Lead is that a Black man causes a Black woman no harm. And it was that one principle that put me at odds with Kevin Samuels, because I believe, having done what I do for 30 years, literally telling people that they're not measuring up, that they need to put in work, that they got a lot of work to do, but doing it in a way that they actually appreciated me. They were not broken down. They were not destroyed. They were not feeling attacked. They were actually saying, you know what? I never saw it that way. Let me see what we can do. Can you help me get there? And there's a way to do it. So I knew you could do it without being that way. So the idea that I have to make it hurt a little in order for you to get it means that you really haven't studied your craft, or you don't understand how things are done. There's a way to get to someone and make them feel uncomfortable about where they're at without being, because see, what happens is, I'm really going to work with you. And see, that's the other thing about the way that the platform was set up, was that these were one-offs. These weren't people working with Kevin. These were people coming on. And the thing is, you don't get your best work done by putting the personal display in front of the public. You get your best work done building trust where there's only two people, you and the person you're working with. And so that person can come to trust you. And over time, you can help them. And so that is just some of the things. But what we have is a situation in which we are not preparing young Black males to be men. We are leaving huge gaps in the home. We are finding it easier to point fingers of blame. And that's coming from both sides. That's coming from the Black male and the Black female. It's everybody's fault, but nobody wants to put in the work to deal with what's going on. The truth of the matter is, both sides are bringing daddy issues into relationships. Both sides are bringing mommy issues into the relationship. Both sides are bringing past hurts into relationships. Both sides are judging people that they have not dealt with yet based on people who did them wrong in the past. Both are carrying trauma ahead of them, and they're expecting to be able to deal with people on a level in which they can put in work and do something and build something. Let me tell you something. The best relationship isn't finding, ladies, isn't finding someone with the bag. Men, it isn't finding someone that will submit. It's finding someone that can relate to your vision on a level that they want to plug into it and become a part of it, that they have something to give, not just looking for something to receive, that they come and in one way you're giving something that they lack, in another way they're giving something you lack. It is the merging of masculine energy with feminine energy and creating what we call synergy. It's the syncing of energies to create a stronger force that the two independent energies could not achieve. And that's what we've lost in the bickering. That's what we've lost in the finger pointing. That's what we lost in the failure to prepare young boys to stand up and be men and square your shoulders. It is so hard in this world to get on when your first move is to point the finger of blame. Now, it doesn't mean that the finger of blame you're pointing is invalid. It just means I can't get anything out of life if I'm always pointing the finger. What that means is there are going to be people who are going to do things to me that I don't like. There are going to be people who will put stumbling blocks in my way. There will be people who will literally break my heart. But what I can't do is spend my time consumed with that. I've got to understand, well, that happened. How do I move? How do I grow? How do I heal? How do I prepare myself in that it doesn't happen to me again? Do I spend a bunch of my time being angry and bitter and attacking the people that look like, sound like, and behave like that person? Or do I start to say, I recognize you, so I'm going to move over here. I recognize you, so I know this only so close I'm going to allow you to get. But what I'm not going to spend my energy doing is attacking you. And that, again, comes from both sides. I said this in the first video. There's enough culpability to go around. So when I see black men blaming black women and I see black women blaming black men, I say, we're not looking inside, because the greatest force for healing and advancement comes from within. But he's popular because there was a large group of people who needed a voice. And because of the pain and the frustration that they felt for multiple reasons, a lot of this ain't even about some woman hurting them. This is back in the house when they were growing up. And they may not even know it, but their opinion about women. Some of them have bad opinions about women because they put up with what dad did. There's all kinds of stuff floating around that we simply haven't dealt with. There's a bunch of things that are going on that people have not dealt with. And we are trying to carry on a positive narrative in a negative environment. You know, I don't wish anything bad on anybody. So to sit up and see how many people are literally celebrating this man's demise, it just speaks to where we are. It's okay to be indifferent. It's okay to sit up and say, look, I'm not going to celebrate it, but I'm not sending out no RIPs because dude was out there. If that's your feeling, let me tell you something. I've lived this life long enough to watch it go full circle in a bunch of people's lives. And what I can tell you is you better be careful what you put out there, because it comes back. It comes back, and there's no avoiding it. You can call it sowing and reaping. You can call it karma. You can call it what you want to, but you got to be real careful what you put out and everything like that. And then when you see somebody getting their karma, don't celebrate them getting their karma. Their karma is coming back to them, but don't forget, when you start celebrating something negative happening to somebody, that's a negative action. You just put it out there. It's coming back. Focus on the things that you can be positive in. Focus on the things that you can change. Focus on the ways that you can grow. Focus on how you can be a force. There's so much going on in our community. The mental health issue. There's a mental health crisis in our community. We're losing, baby. Just in this year alone, we have lost 5 student athletes to suicide. That doesn't count all the other suicides that have taken place. Just student athletes that have gone on to college and committed suicide. There's a problem in that area. There's a problem where we aren't ready and prepared to deal with it. We are not developing our children. We're not protecting our children. They're exposed to too much too soon. We are not covering them, and they are out there, and there is this force that's eating away and tearing away at them because they haven't been properly socialized into their identity. They haven't properly been socialized into their place. They don't know who they are, and they have an entire world ready to tell them that they don't measure up. They have a world that's breaking them down and taking them before their genius can ever rise up out of them and make a space for them. We are not protecting our children, but we will go all out against one another. We have work to do. We have work to do. When I created Black Men Lead, it was to develop a universal platform and practice that will socialize young Black males into manhood. And what my work has shown me is that when Black boys are properly socialized, they're less likely to drop out of school, which means they're less likely to become criminal minded. They're less likely to become incarcerated. They're more likely to be financially viable. They're more likely to be able to develop relationships. They're more likely to be able to be active and productive in their homes and in their communities. This isn't some wishful idea thinking. That's why all other groups have some form of rite of passage. It is the development of an understanding. You don't just hope a young boy grows into a man. You build a man by investing in that young boy from an early age. You build a man by modeling manhood to him. You build a man by holding them accountable. You build a man by being a resource. And we are failing in that. I have said this: until we restore the Black family, it's only going to get worse. Until we stop spurning and marriage and understand the importance of having both masculine and feminine energy in the house, it's going to get worse. Until we start inculcating true identity and worth into the minds and psyches of our young kids, it's going to get worse. We need to learn how to heal. We need to learn how to be strong. We need to learn how to approach. You know, I love how people justify vitriol because it's what they feel they need to do. I've spent 30 years getting people to unbelievable places in their lives. I've made a living out of it. Um, and I haven't had to talk down to not one person to do it. So I'm getting better results without having to be in any way assaultive. Now, this isn't coddling anybody. I'm very direct, the same way that I've been here. I'm going to say exactly what I feel, but there's a way to say it. Because my thing is, if I'm going to be effective with you, I need to be able to deal with you on more than one occasion. Very few things are accomplished in one encounter. Oh, you can get a lot of likes if you say something in one encounter. You can get a bunch of shares and some subscriptions, but the work is done repetitively over and over, hammering on the things that are working against you, getting rid of old habits, building good, strong habits, developing over time. It's real. And the thing is, normally when a man is working on himself, he doesn't have a whole lot of time to go out on the assault and on the prowl. Now, women, let's be real. Some of y'all bring so much hurt and pain. You bring it with you. You bring all of the stuff that comes from the past and you come dump it at the foot and then get mad when that can't be. It's no one's responsibility to heal your past issues but you. That's not a man's responsibility. A man's responsibility is to come in, to plug in, provide covering, which is a part of protection, provision, promotion, which is to elevate you and put you in the place where people recognize you for the skills and gifts you are so that you can work in your purpose. To be a priest, that means being a direct line to the divine, the Most High, the Almighty, God, whatever you want to call it. And to be a prophet, that means to speak power into your life, to speak over you, to speak to you, and speak through you. That's his responsibility. The healing work has to be done. Now, he can facilitate a space for you to do it, but it's not supposed to be his responsibility. His money can't fix your daddy issues. His money can't fix your mommy issues. His money can't fix what that dude did to you 10 years ago, 15 years ago. That's hiding behind something. That's not putting in the work. Men, we've got work to do. Women, you've got work to do. There's enough culpability to go around. We love to point the finger, but it's never gotten anything done. You know, to the family of this brother that passed away, be blessed. May God cover and strengthen and soften your sorrow. To those of us who are left behind to figure out what to do, we have work to do. Whatever Kevin Samuels had in mind to do, he's done everything that he's going to do in this realm. So now, what are we going to do? You know, like him or hate him, he did something that has created enough of a roar that we're sitting up having a conversation about him. I think everybody has the capacity to be a voice for something. I choose to be a voice for something I believe to be powerful and positive. I choose to put in my work and let my work speak for me. And I am challenging everybody to do the same. It's easy to get caught up in the bickering and the gender war. And as long as there's a gender war, there's no real true Black progression. And that individualized mindset that is creeping up and becoming so prevalent will mean the end. I'm just saying, because we're always going to be Black. And just in that truth alone, we are a threat. So in that notion, look, I'm going to get ready to get off of here. I wish you the best. As I said, show some love, show some support in the work that we do in Black Men Lead and everything else. There's a link in the description box to support the work we do. We're trying to take that national and create a network to where there is a universal idea of what manhood is. So we can stop loosely defining it so nobody really knows what it is and everybody's creating their own version for their own self. And it doesn't serve the totality of who we are as a collective. We need that so desperately. Support the work we're doing. It's in the description box. You can either click the link or you can give through the organization's Cash App handle, which is also in the box. But again, I would rather put my energy on the positive than the negative. And I darn sure am not going to dig down into some of the places that I've seen people go with this. But hey, it's going to be up to us what we do. It's going to be up to us where we end up. It's that simple. On that note, I'm out of here.